Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm joined by my colleague, my wife, my handler, Lynn. Hi Lynn.
Hello.
The usual hello from Lynn, where she can use one word rather than a dozen, she'll use one.
Correct.
Today we're going to talk about something called the C.A.R approach, communications, attitudes and response. Now, really important communication when we're supporting people who are living with cognitive decline, cognitive change, neurocognitive disorder, neurological disorder. Communication is key. In my book, A Clinician's Guide to Non-Pharmacological Dementia Therapies, there is a chapter entitled The Nightingale Model of Enriched Care. Within that chapter is information about the C.A.R approach. It's a model and it's an intervention and it's an engagement tool and it's something we can all use. It's really simple to follow. It's really simple to implement, and it really does make a difference when we're supporting family, friends, patients, colleagues, whoever it is we may be supporting who is living with cognitive change. So the C.A.R approach stands for communication, attitudes and response. And I am going to read a little excerpt from the book, the introduction to the C.A.R approach, and then we're going to talk about each section. Okay, so the C.A.R approach is a cycle of events. One part of it doesn't work without the other. They all work together. So you can't just use one and skip the others because then it won't work. So it is a cycle of events, okay? The three modalities are intertwined, and when incorporated into the everyday care strategy, the key components to increasing the well-being of each individual become really obvious and prominent. As I said, the term C.A.R approach itself is communication, attitudes and response, and it enables to maintain a mindset that is positive, and that's really important because positive mindset is where we want people to be all the time. If we have people in a negative mindset, then first of all we have to shift them to a positive mindset before we can start thinking about the C.A.R approach. And the way to do that is to ensure that their inner confidence is increased and that they have their own sense of purpose and their own sense of value. Because many people living with a cognitive disorder find that their confidence and their value isn't working very well, okay? So we have to make sure that they feel valued, that they contribute, that they have a sense of purpose, okay? So the whole philosophy that allows people to experience a sense of well-being is grounded within the ability to communicate effectively, the attitude that we have around that, and the response that we have. That was my dog. If you heard him snore, he's having a little sleep. My voice tends to do that. So let's think about communication. There's certain parts of communication that are really important. One of them is to remember that verbal communication is not all that we have. Verbal communication, in fact, accounts for very little of our engagement and interaction on a daily basis with other people. Body language is more pronounced. Body language is better read by our own body, by our own mind, by our subconscious mind. So when we're in a group setting and we're having a conversation, maybe new people, we're always reading them to ensure that we're safe. You know, do I need to run away? Are they going to eat me? Are we okay? Are we going to have fun? All those kind of things. Your subconscious mind is evaluating that. It's assessing that situation. So when you're interacting and engaging with somebody who is experiencing cognitive change, make sure that you have open body language. Make sure you're at an angle of about 45% to that person. Don't cross your arms, don't cross your legs. Open, non-threatening, open communication, because the individual is reading that at a subconscious level. And when people with cognitive change get to a certain part of their journey, it becomes more important for body language, and they subconsciously are reading body language and are better to understand it. And especially if somebody has, for example, receptive dysphagia, so not understanding what the person's saying to them, body language is key. Focusing on existing skills, so building a communication around existing skills is absolutely crucial. I've mentioned this so many times before. We must focus on the individual, not the disease, not the disability. We must look at existing strengths and build on them. We must celebrate existing strengths and build on them. Obviously, there are some losses through cognitive change, but again, as we know, through neuroplasticity, we're able to change that and sometimes regain, and a lot of the times regain, those lost skills, lost abilities, and achieve what we call rementia, which is the opposite to dementia. So that's really important. Focusing on competencies, okay? Has the person been a really good communicator in the past? Are they a kind of an expressive person? Do they talk with their hands? Are they really animated when they have a conversation? Or are they more introverted and quiet? And do they listen more and not speak as much verbally or through body language? And that's where you have to be sure of the person's competencies in terms of communication. You know, certain professions, people become excellent communicators. Education, teachers, doctors, nurses, those kind of professions. We should be excellent communicators, and we should be able to read people very, very quickly and feed off where they are. And that is something we talk about extensively when we're supporting people living through cognitive change, is about meeting them where they are at that moment. There can be fluctuations in ability, especially if we're supporting somebody with Lewy body type dementia. Their ability, their cognitive ability may fluctuate from hour to hour or day to day. So we always have to meet people where they are, not where we are. Okay, so entering people's realities that we speak about very often. And then knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And what I always tell my patients and their relatives is that throughout your entire life, you have used so many different skills, so many different things to experience life and to get through challenges. And you carry around this invisible toolbox. And inside your invisible toolbox are invisible tools. Tools that you have used in the past. Tools that we now think about and think about how we can adapt to use now to carry through the current experience and the current journey. So that is the communication aspect of it. Speaking to people with respect, dignity, looking at the person when you speak about them, to them, and not turning to a caregiver or to a relative and asking questions, but involving and including that individual. And then it's okay to say, if you have any, if your wife or husband or daughter, sister, son has anything to contribute to this, is that okay with you? And very often people say, yeah. And very often people will look towards a relative for like confirmation of what they're expressing, confirmation of what they're communicating. So always bear that in mind. It's always like a movie, and the person who is living through the change, the cognitive change, is the hero of the movie, and the supporting cast are the relatives, the care team, the doctors, the nurses. So the individual is always central. He or she is the hero of the movie. So we always focus on that person and include other people. Okay. And what about moving on to attitude? Attitude is all about how we respond to somebody who is communicating to us. Some people living through cognitive change at certain parts of the journey have difficulty expressing themselves, have difficulty communicating what their needs are, what they are trying to say, and may well get frustrated, may well get upset. So we have to maintain an element of calm, an element of open posture, open communication, and use our skill of hearing that person. Listening and hearing are two things. Listening, we can listen, but we can be thinking about something totally different as we are listening to someone. Okay? We can think about what we're going to do tonight, what we're going to have for dinner, blah, blah, blah. Hearing is literally hearing what that person is saying. So we are hearing it, and we are internalizing it, and we are working out our response, our strategy. And our attitude has to be respectful. Yesterday, I saw something of an incident that somebody sent me of a video of a caregiver seemingly grabbing an old lady in a care home by the neck and yanking her forward on her chair. That's disrespectful. It's abuse, it's elder abuse, you know. Action will be taken against that person. It's disrespectful. So we have to remember that our attitude needs to be respectful, otherwise we are not going to be respected. The attitude of that individual is going to be aggressive, is going to be non-friendly. So make sure that, you know, our attitude is open and friendly, and we remain calm, and really try to understand what that person is saying to you. So one of my examples here is, and I've used this example before, when am I going home? And somebody will say this when they're in their own home. When am I going home? And if we say, well, you're already at home. Don't you know? This is your home. This is where you live. You've lived here for 50 years. This is where you live. This is your home. You're asking for trouble. Because what that person is actually saying is, I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling anxious. Because our home is associated by, this is a safe place, this is where I go to retreat, this is my place, I can do whatever I want here. So I feel happy, I feel calm, I feel relaxed, and I feel safe. So if somebody's expressing the fact that I want to go home, look behind the meaning, search behind it, hear what the person is actually saying. Never confront. Confrontation is counterproductive. Confrontation is not going to work in the long run, okay? So think about your attitude, bear that in mind, and think about holistic function. And that means we look at every aspect of that individual. Somebody might be experiencing pain, discomfort, and can't communicate that. You know, I've known many patients living with Alzheimer's disease or another form of cognitive change who have had a fall and who have just carry on. They show no pain. They say, oh, I'm not hurt, I'm fine, I'm okay, I don't hurt, I don't feel any pain or discomfort. But then you discover they've actually fractured their hip. So you really have to hear what the person is trying to communicate, and your attitude has to be one of responding appropriately and with respect and with dignity. And again, remember that person is the central character of this movie. Okay. There's a whole bunch of stuff about attitude, and then the response. You know, we want a response that is respectful, that is dignified. And I'm going to show you this, and I want Lynn to tell me if you can see this picture.
Yes.
Okay, take a look at that picture. Okay. Now, what you see in that picture are two ladies having a conversation, one holding a baby, and both of them being addressed by a donkey. Okay? This is a picture of a nursing home in the UK that I used to look after. It was one of the homes that I cared for the patients there that had dementia. Okay, that lady holding the baby, one night she started rummaging through cupboards and banging doors and all that kind of stuff. And the night team couldn't work out what she was doing. So they called me and I went in and I talked to her and I did some investigating and looked at her life story and discovered that when she was young, her baby died. And she's come to a point now where she's reliving this experience. We talked about trauma in one of our previous videos. She's at a point where she's reliving this experience. She's traumatic. So what's the answer? Can you give her some medication to calm her down? No. Let's try this. We put a cot, a crib in her bedroom next to her bed, and we put the baby that you see on there, the doll, her baby. She woke up in the night and she picked up said baby, took it into bed with her and snuggled up and went to sleep. As simple as that, a simple resolution. And that is all about responding to that individual's expression, communication, and really understanding it. I'm being told to wrap this up now, so all I can say to you is really important: communication, attitude and response. And this is a well-used, well-read, well-referenced book of mine, and I would recommend everybody gets it because there is so much useful information on various things and models that we can all use. You don't have to be a clinician, okay? There's lots of information and stuff in this book that you can get. You get it off Amazon, you get it from bookstores.
Useful for caregivers?
Useful for caregivers, useful for professionals, useful for people who are living through cognitive change, useful for everybody. And I've had responses from all of those groups of people saying, wow, that is a really useful resource. So get yourself that book, okay? Remember, guys, you can find me on my website, which is drdanielnightingale.com. You can contact us through that. You can follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. Share, because everything we do is educational, and the more we can share that with the more people, the better it is, okay? So thanks for listening to that. I know it's been useful. You're going to get a lot out of it. You're going to be able to use it. It's going to improve your relationships with the people you're supporting. So that's it. Remember, say it with me, dump the soda. Bye, guys.